Here's argument number 2. The origin of biological information. The origin of biological information. Anybody heard of the SETI project, S-E-T-I, the SETI project, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, begun by Carl Sagan at Cornell? It is now a multi-million-dollar scientific research project where they're trying to find intelligent life in outer space. I'm still trying to find it in Washington, D.C., but we'll let that go, ladies and gentlemen. So what we have is the search for intelligent life in outer space. Now, obviously, folks, if scientists are going to look for intelligent life in outer space, they're going to have to develop criteria for how to tell when they found it, unless you just bump into it. But you've got to have some way of telling when a signal that reaches your sensors comes from an intelligent mind. And they've been able to develop these criteria, and I agree with them, by the way. Did you see the movie Contact with Jodie Foster? She was a SETI researcher in that movie. It was a novel written by Sagan himself. So, here's how they're going to tell if there's intelligent life in outer space. Suppose I had alphabet soup, tossed it up in the air, and it scattered randomly. So I've got here on the podium the square root of -1, an upside down J, a T laying on the side, the @ sign, a Q. I mean, that's random. And if scientists scanned the heavens and detected a random sequence from outer space, they would not conclude that that random sequence came from intelligent life. Secondly, there's what is called simple order. Suppose I had alphabet soup arranged so that I had 500 MEs in a row. M-E, 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 500 times. Note that that's ordered, it's not random. But also note, it's very, very simple. To tell a computer to generate 500 MEs in a row, I would give it 3 instructions. Pick an M, pick an E, and repeat. That's it. If scientists who are scanning the heavens pick up a radio signal that is like ME, 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 in other words, an oscillating radio wave that simply pulsates back and forth in a very ordered fashion, they will not conclude that that came from an intelligent mind, because the laws of nature say a pulsating star could generate a very simple ordered radio wave. The third type of signal, however, will be proof positive, according to the SETI scientists, that there's intelligent life in outer space. And that's not a random signal, and it's not an ordered signal, it is an information signal. An example of information would be John Loves Mary. Note that John Loves Mary is not only very specific, J-O-H-N, it's not simple, it's very complicated. To tell a computer to generate John Loves Mary, you'd have to give it 14 specific instructions in a row. Print a J, an O, an H, an N, a space, and so on. If it were the Gettysburg Address, now we're up to, I think, a couple of hundred specific pieces of information in a row. If it's the book of Romans, we're way up there. Way up there. Now, in the movie Contact, what tipped Jodie Foster off to the presence of intelligent life in outer space was the signal that contained the first 20 prime numbers in a row. A prime number being a number that can be divided only by 1 and itself, like the number 3. If you discovered a signal that had the first 20 prime numbers in a row, I will tell you, you'd better conclude it was from an intelligent mind. I would too. Why? Because that's not a random signal, and it's not simple order, it contains information. Now, the SETI project makes an assumption, and the assumption is that information can only come from an intelligent mind. Thus, if you discover information from outer space, say in the form of the first 20 prime numbers in a row, we should conclude that it had its source in an intelligent agent. And I agree with that. I think intelligence can only come from an information can only come from an intelligent mind, And if we discover an information signal from outer space, we ought to conclude it came from an intelligent mind. But, of course, you understand where I'm going with this. The biggest discovery in biology of the 20th century is that frogs and cats and you and me and living systems are filled with libraries of information in our DNA. One cell in your body has got more information in it than all the books at the USC library where I took my PhD. And don't get so haughty, more than the UCLA library too, I might add. Right, so don't look at me like that. Well, that's where you went to school. No. So a DNA molecule is filled with reams of information. Here's my question, if information is best explained as coming from an intelligent mind, and if DNA is filled with libraries of information, why isn't the most sensible explanation for the origin of the information in living systems a very, very smart, intelligent designer? It ought to be. It's the same argument. It's the very same argument they use. Why can't we use it? So the point is then that there are two reasons how I know there's a God. And I would say these to Provine. Number one, the universe began to exist. How do I know that? The second law means it's running out of energy. It hasn't happened yet, so it had to have a beginning. Secondly, the galaxies are expanding away from one another. You extrapolate those back to the beginning point when it all came into existence. Something can't come from nothing, so something supernatural, completely outside the natural world, totally unnatural, had to create the universe and bring it into existence. Number two, information can only come from an intelligent mind, as the SETI scientists themselves assume correctly. So this isn't my assumption, it's theirs. But then it follows that the most reasonable explanation for the origin of the volumes of information in living systems is a very, very intelligent mind that is the designer of that information. That's piece of evidence number two.